Welcome back to Dave Knows Comics for another How to Draw session. Today's episode is all about style and technique. So what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to draw two faces with different techniques and showing you what differences they make. Now there are plenty of different techniques and plenty of different styles, and it's very important to develop your own style. However, with that being said, no matter what style you choose and how far along you are, it's always nice to get a couple of tips and tricks and just see how other people do things. That's what the interesting part about this is. So I've already done an episode on gesturing, so I'm speeding through this, playing at a high speed. You don't need to see that. And I'm trying to work on this and just make these two faces as similar as possible, even though I'm doing a fast, sloppy gesture. Just trying to get you the idea before we move on. And I'm going to be using a Sharpie. That way you can see the differences a little bit easier. Let them stand out a little more. The line's a little thicker. And let's start with this. I'm going to start with an eyebrow. Now this is something a little different than I normally do. Yeah, I do like to start with the eyes and the eyebrow, but I'm kind of dabbing. I'm doing little dots here, especially since I'm using that Sharpie. And it creates a little more texture, a little more of those microscopic hairy look to the eyebrows because I'm just making little dots. Yeah, I'm using some lines too, but I'm also making sure that the little dots are out there. And let's go on to the eyes again, and look at that. I'm going to use one fluid stroke. All right, one solid line, and I went back to put a little dab in the corner of the eye there. And one thing that this does remind me is when it comes to comic books, unlike animation, you're going to see some thicker lines in certain places. Lines get a little thicker in one spot and a little thinner in the others. If you try to do that for animation, it'd be really difficult making line thicknesses change while something's animating. That'd be very, very, very complicated to do. But with comic books, you can do that a lot, and it's a great way to show a little bit of depth, give a little more weight to something, or even indicate a little more shadow to it. The thicker the line, obviously there's going to be a little more of a shadow there. And that's why I put those little dots in the right corner. I put that extra little dot there. And an extra line under the chin too. It's indicating that shadow. And now time for the ears. Okay, and so far nothing too surprising here. But let's go with the nose. Now, as you can see, I already did the little dots in the corner of the eyes on the right. On the camera right side. So I'm going to put a little shadow under the nose because the nose is going to cast a shadow too. Oh, and here's something else I like about comic book styles is there's a lot of implied lines, like right there. See that? I put a gap, which is essentially, the mouth is essentially just two arrows pointing in different directions with a gap in between. But a lot of implied lines is what comic book style is really good at. So even though that gap is there, I didn't draw the mouth straight through. It looks like it did. It feels like I did. You don't think about it. It just looks like a mouth, even though it really is just two arrows pointing separately. And, okay, quick hair design. Nothing surprising here. I am going to do what I like doing is making sure that the outline of the hair is not just perfectly round or perfectly anything. I make all these little jagged shapes, square them off a little bit, block them off in a little range. It gives it more of an organic look. It just messes up just enough where it starts feeling a little sloppy, and that's what I like about it. So it's not like a perfect Lego haircut, Lego looking haircut. Okay, and so now sticking to that shadow underneath the lip and making sure the dots are working there. I'm putting a little more shadow emphasis on the right side just because that's where I was putting for the eyes. And cheekbones, why not? Let's give them some cheekbones. And you can see on the right, the cheekbone shadow is a little more, it's got like that V thing going because, again, I'm putting a little more shadow emphasis on the right. And there you go. Okay, so that's just one possibility. That's one option. Let's draw something else, and let's draw this completely differently now. Another face, but let's just use a different technique. Now, starting from the nose. Now, look, unlike drawing on the right, you can actually see one nostril. There is actually the underside. You can see the underside of the nose a little bit. I drew it where it's cast in shadow on the other side. And the nose versus the bridge is a little more distinct, where drawing on the right, it's one fluid line just swooping in from the right side, swooping in to the bridge of the nose, where here I drew them as separate lines. This is a little more angular of a drawing. And look at these broken up eyebrows I'm doing here, where they're a very, very rectangular shape. And here on the eyes too, same thing. I'm drawing one line on top and then drawing two lines down. Where on the right, if you remember, I made one fluid motion for the outer eye. like that. Here I'm making it more that there are two distinct sets, like the horizontal vertical lines versus the horizontal lines versus the vertical lines. And for the eyes, I did the pupils themselves. I did a little more work there, where they were mostly thick C's on the drawing on the right. Here I added little dots. And now for the outside border, look at that. I'm doubling up, like there's a couple of lines. I'm going over, I'm shredding, I'm doing a lot of short strokes and, you know, more of a sketchy kind of look to it. Even though I'm using a marker, it's more of a scribbly, sketchy look to the outside. And the ear, showing a little less ear so you don't see the inside of the ear. There you go. I meant to make this the hairline a little more like the one on the right, but I don't want to change it too much. But see, now with the jags of the hair, like the jagged pieces of hair, I'm making it a little more angular, a little more aggressive, making it look a little messier. And same thing here, I'm with, you know, I like the blockiness of not having it perfect on the outside of the hair, making it a little squared off, but I'm doing it even more so. And again, giving that sketch look by retracing lines and giving multiple lines, making it look really sloppy, making it look very distinct. And one solid line for the mouth this time, where the other side I used two. One solid line. Now, the shadow on the lip, yeah, that's pretty similar. I probably could have done something a little different, and I filled in the ears a little bit. But there you go. You see, let's pronounce the cheekbones a little bit more, even more of that kind of look. But you see how scratchy this looks, how sketchy it looks, you know, sketched out, not like sketchy dangerous. You see how that is? And also, oh yeah, that little divot underneath your nose and between your lip. But there you go. So I didn't incorporate that in the drawing right. So there you go. Looking at it side by side. Pretty different, but kind of the same. So what do you guys think? There are just some different techniques and styles I use. There are plenty more. But what tips and tricks do you have, and what do you like? And what else would you like to see me draw? Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. And as always, Dave knows.